Hey everyone, Sean here from Orca Empire, and today we're going to be going over the deadlift. Going off last week when I went over the hip hinge, deadlift is more of just an extended variation of the hip hinge with added load, difficulty, and maximal benefits. Before we get started, I'm going to go over some things about the deadlift. There are three types of ways that we can deadlift. One is with a narrow stance, which I'll be going over today, called conventional. Two is with a wider stance with your arms between your legs, called sumo. And third is a trap bar deadlift used with a hexagonal bar. The last two I'll be going over next week. Back to conventional. So, a lot of problems with the deadlift. Mobility. We need mobility in our hips, shoulders, and thoracic spine in order to execute this lift efficiently. I see way too many people getting hurt based on poor form, execution, and loading up the bar with much too weight because of their egos or because not enough guidance telling them how and what to do. This video is designed to kind of give you a step-by-step process on how to go through it safely, efficiently, and effectively. First thing we want to do is to practice our hip hinge position. Our hip hinge is when we bend maximally at the hips and minimally at the knees, putting us in this V shape. Much different than a squat where we have maximal bend in both our hips and our knees. We want to have our hips higher than our knees and our shoulders higher than our hips for proper execution. First project where we want to start is having our feet narrow. I like to have mine feet just underneath my shoulders. You can go slightly wider, but you don't want to have your arms flaring out to the side as a result of having your legs wide. So, you want to have your forearms just on the outsides of your knees, totally touching, and you want to take the slack out of the bar. So what that means is you're going to pretend like you're going to bend the bar before lifting it up off the ground to pack your lats in, and so it doesn't do this little shake, you lock and load and ready to go. So, when we drop in, we're going to push our butt back towards the wall like we're sitting in a chair, grip down, we're going to push into the earth with our heels, take the slack out of the bar, and stand. So, breaking that down a little further. What I want you to do is when you take that slack out of the bar, you should feel your shoulder blades roll back and down, almost pinch, like you're cracking a peanut in between your shoulder blades. That's important to take pressure off your shoulders to prevent anterior dislocations, as well as keeping a perfect posture to build maximal benefits. So here's one more rep just to see before we get going. So you see it pop up, head should be aligned straight, shoulders packed back, arms straight, legs locked out. And when I lower, all I'm going to do is push my hips back, glide the bar down the same path, and finish in the exact same position that I started. If you've ever been to a conventional gym, you can treat the deadlift somewhat like a leg press. So, usually they have you sitting in a chair, either your legs forward or pointed up, but your knees will start close to your chest and you're forced to push the weight away through your feet. This is pretty similar because all we're doing is pushing the earth away from us while we try and stand up. So, before we drop into it one more time, one adjustment and key point that I'm going to bring up is our hips. So, you'll see a lot of people, they'll kind of push their butt back and make an arch in their back. That's okay, but once we start going under heavier loads, that leaves us very susceptible to low back issues, as well as a little bit of impingement and poor muscular development. So instead of pushing our hips back, what we want to do is imagine tilting our belly button up towards our chin to push our pelvis up and forward. Automatically, if you do that right now, you'll feel your glutes tighten, your hamstrings lock in, and your feet glue down to the floor. This prevents us from rounding our low back, as well as helps engage our glutes, get rid of that gluteal amnesia I talked about last week in the article. So, putting all the steps together, set up with our feet just underneath our hips, eyes forward, push our butt back, hands just come down to the floor, deep breath, that's pretty much it. So it's a lot of little steps put together in one awesome and execution style deadlift. Stay tuned next week where I go over the sumo and the trap bar deadlift. Enjoy!